What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Scares. That's right, we're continuing right along on our month-long scare-a-thon with the next franchise that I'll be covering. It's The Exorcist. The Exorcist essentially follows the life of little Regan McNeil, who has been experiencing some unusual things, which has her mother worried. Doctors everywhere just can't seem to pinpoint the outlining issue other than it's probably something wrong with her brain. But when Regan's mother overhears somebody talking about exorcism as a possible solution, she's skeptical, but she decides to go along with it anyway, determined to heal her daughter's affliction. The rest, as I'm sure you're aware, is history. So, first of all, thank you for tuning back into this month-long event. The Exorcist is a film that, of course, I've seen before, but only once, actually. I had a really interesting experience watching it for the first time, and I wanted to maybe dive a little bit deeper this time around because this is one of the best horror films ever made. Not because it's scary, that's arguable, but because there's so much attention to detail here, and the character development here is something that I'm honestly impressed with. The Exorcist scenes that I'm sure you can picture in your head, never having even seen the movie, aren't really in the film until the final half hour. The first hour and like 45 minutes are all character driven. Sure, there's a paranormal influence there as Regan is possessed by the devil or whatnot, but at first, you don't really need to see it that way. All that really matters is that it's a medical problem that this little innocent girl is experiencing, and how emotionally heart-wrenching it is for her mother, feeling like she can't help her own daughter. That's a big part of this movie. Other than that, this film fleshes out multiple characters and gives them all independent importance. Everybody in this film has a rich background filled with drama, emotion, and a mental drive, which by the end of the film kind of brings them all together for different reasons at first, but it turns into more of a collective ambition by the end. It truly is spectacular writing for a horror film, and I'm sure that a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's not only an adaptation from a novel of the same name, but the same guy who wrote the book wrote the screenplay. Once we get into that third act, and especially the last half hour, the film dives super deep into how absolutely disturbing this situation is. The things that this little innocent girl does and the things that she says was so incredibly bold for not only the early 70s, but even now. Even now we don't see kids acting like this in the movies. They act a lot less innocent now, for sure, but even so, Regan acts so far past that acceptable line that I can't even imagine the 70s and how they would have reacted to this movie. It would have been truly demonic. Then you have the iconic makeup on Regan's entire body that makes her look like a devil, and her voice, and some of her lines of delivery here. What an excellent day for an exorcism. What an excellent day indeed. There's so much good happening in this movie that it's hard to even find negatives. But if I had to pick any one thing, I would just say, because the world is now saturated with what feels like thousands of other exorcism films, people may not feel a drive to watch the OG, especially because most modern exorcism films aren't really that good. And if none of them are really that good, how can this first one be any good, right? Well, get out of that line of thinking because you couldn't be more wrong. This film is easily the best exorcism film that I've ever seen, and not just because it's the most famous, but because it wasn't always trying to just scare you. It was trying to make you care about a great number of these characters first, which then, when the film gets to be disturbing, it affects you on a much deeper level. You may not even be scared with this film. I'm not scared whatsoever, but I highly respect the level of commitment put into the film, which I truly believe still works to this day. Let's take a look at my final score. From an unbiased technical level, I think that this movie is great. The makeup on Regan's face is still memorable almost 50 years after the fact, and the level of character development throughout the movie is insanely good. One of the best character-driven horror films that I've ever seen. This unbiased score is 86%. My biased score, or just how I felt about it overall, nearly perfect. This film is great on multiple levels. It's something that I consider to be one of the best introductions to horror for somebody that maybe has never really seen that much from the genre, since it's proof that the genre can do impressive things. It can focus on more than just trying to get a cheap scare out of you. This bias score is 94%, averaging everything out to a final score of 90%, 90 out of 100 possible stars, or an A letter grade. Guys, have you seen The Exorcist? If you haven't, why not? Let me know in the comment section down below, and as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out!
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the number